Hello everyone, I am Clara. Welcome to Clara's Story Garden, where tales of passion, mystery, and the supernatural bloom under the moonlight. Today, we invite you to lose yourself in Hunt for a Wolf's Heart, a gripping romance woven with werewolves, ghostly bonds, and a love that defies the boundaries of life and death. How did I get here? The last thing I know, I was leaving a club after getting into an awful fight with my friend Lily, and now I'm in an empty corridor, alone. Everything is still and eerily quiet. If it wasn't for the sound of the rain pouring outside, you'd think I'd stepped into another dimension. There's a door at the end of the hallway. I feel compelled to reach it. I can't explain it, it's like my body's seeking something my mind doesn't yet comprehend. I slip inside a dark, quiet room, dimly lit by the moon, which casts a soft, ethereal glow through the large bay window. My eyes slowly adjust to the darkness, and I realize I'm standing in a bedroom with high ceilings and wooden floors. And there, in the bed, lies a figure, a man, half covered by a tangled mess of sheets, his chest bare and rising gently with each breath. Even in sleep, there's a strength to him, his features cast in the soft lunar light, revealing a rugged handsomeness that feels familiar yet utterly captivating. Who's this man? What is he doing here? Wait, more importantly, what am I doing here? Shouldn't I do the sensible thing and leave? Something holds me in place, and I find myself walking towards the bed instead, heart racing as I try to make out the man's features through the darkness. When I do, I can't believe my eyes. I know this man. In fact, I loathe him with every fiber of my being. He is the most conceited, demeaning, kind of gorgeous, but nevertheless self-satisfied jerk I've ever met in my entire life. And this is coming from someone whose father left when she was 5. Never have I ever been so humiliated than on the day we'd met. His name is Ethan Wolfe, and he's my university professor. We met on a cold but sunny winter morning. I was just recently back on campus from my holiday break when I met up with my friend Lily. Did you have a nice time with your family, Sophie? She asked as we were heading into our university's main building. I mean, I'm sure I would have if I had one, I replied dismissively. I'm sorry. Are you guys not close? Lily's big blue eyes filled with a compassion I didn't want. Stop that. I don't feel sorry for myself, and neither should you. The question is, why do you look so chipper, Lily? Didn't you spend your holidays with Idiot McFace? Idiot McFace is Lily's boyfriend. He has a name, mind you, but since I make a point of keeping useless information out of my head, I couldn't tell you what it was for the life of me. I really wish you tried to know him better. I know he's not your cup of tea, but... I snorted at that. He was the type of guy who believed women couldn't do anything on their own, especially not Lily, who he saw as his property. I had no idea what she was doing with him when it was so obvious the guy made her miserable. I told you before, Sophie, Caleb and I are destined to be together. He's my... Yeah, your soulmate, I know, you've said. We entered the university building, I blissfully unaware I was seconds away from losing my dignity, and Lily focused on her whole soulmate voodoo thing. In her mind, she has no choice but to be with this person who keeps hurting her because it's supposedly, and I quote, meant to be. I didn't know how to argue my case after hearing that crap. I just don't see how the universe could pick someone like that for you, Lily. You deserve to be happy. I stopped mid-sentence as I was handed back the term paper I'd submitted before break by a TA. An F. I gasped in horror. There must be some kind of mistake. Maybe the teacher figured out you copied your paper from Luke, Lily said. I rolled my eyes. Please, Lily. Dr. Grayson is so old, he instantly forgets what he reads. I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. This is an outrage. About that, Sophie, I think Dr. Grayson is not. Don't move. I won't be long, I told my friend, running off. Wait, Sophie. I didn't listen and ran off towards Dr. Grayson's office, prepared to unleash a tirade on that old, fossilized relic. He was known to be a very easy grader, which was why I decided to enroll in his class in the first place. Why else would I ever sit through lectures about archaeology? I banged on his door in an effort to assert myself. Come in. A stern voice echoed through the door. Focused on building up my arguments, I didn't notice it sounded nothing like Dr. Grayson's and barged into his office, freezing in my tracks when I realized it wasn't him sitting behind the desk. Instead of a receding hairline and a long white beard, I found myself staring at the light brown hair and well-defined jawline of a 30-something young man I'd never seen before in my life. "Yes?" the stranger asked without looking up from the mess of papers on his desk. You're not Dr. Grayson," I stammered, rather accusingly. An astute observation. He had to take a sudden leave due to health issues. "I'm Dr. Ethan Wolfe. I'll be substituting for the remainder of the year." "Oh," I replied, feeling rather dumbfounded. He finally decided to look up from his stack of papers, his thundering grey eyes locking onto mine. For a brief moment, I forgot the purpose of my visit, struck by the effortless authority that seemed to radiate from him. "And you are?" he asked, raising an expectant eyebrow. I hurried towards him with renewed purpose. "Sophie Carter," I answered, handing him my term paper. "I'm here because there's been a mistake with my last grade." "Was there?" Dr. Wolfe sounded highly dubious. His tone threw me off a little, his tone and the mocking look he was sending me. So I scratched my throat before bravely trudging on. "Yes, Dr. Grayson must have made a mistake because—" "Ah, Dr. Wolfe," he interrupted, grabbing my copy out of my hands to give it a disdainful glance. "You're the student who cheated." "I didn't cheat," I exclaimed, outraged. "Well, seeing how you handed in the exact same work as a Mr. Luke Morgan, I'd say one of you definitely cheated, wouldn't you?" I gaped like a fish, at a loss for words, as Dr. Wolfe continued, "As of now, you've both got fails. However, should the person who copied come forward, I'd be willing to rectify the original paper's grade." He seemed sincere with the opportunity he was presenting me with. Someone could get away with a better grade here. Really, there was only one thing left for me to do, right? It was Luke. Luke totally copied me. Dr. Wolfe couldn't have looked less impressed. "No, he didn't," he scoffed, giving me my paper back. "You're dismissed." "Dismissed? What about my grade?" I protested, waving my paper around. "This is going to significantly lower my GPA. There's a rather easy way you could improve your grade, Clara." Dr. Wolfe sank back in his chair, a ghost of a smirk playing on his lips, as if he found my predicament amusing. "It's Sophie," I snapped, crossing my arms. "And wait, what do you mean by an easy way to improve my grade? I would think that's rather obvious, don't you?" The air between us grew heavy, his gaze laden with implication caught mine, and I was at a loss for words for a moment. Surely he hadn't meant what I thought he meant. He wouldn't make a pass at me, would he? But then again, his words were inviting, his tone downright suggestive, and seeing the way he was looking at me, like he was inches away from pulling me onto his lap and making me pay for my impertinence. My breath caught in my throat as my mind began to race. I wondered what he had in store for me exactly. Would he content himself with just a kiss? The idea of his lips crashing onto mine ran a shiver down my spine. But he didn't seem like the type of man who'd be satisfied with a simple kiss. He'd probably pin me to his desk and... "Miss?" Dr. Wolfe asked, looking somewhat confused. I scratched my throat, hoping to hide my anticipation. I didn't want to look too enthusiastic. He was blackmailing me, after all. "Fine," I said, putting my bag down. "Where do you want me, Dr. Wolfe?" Dr. Wolfe's expression remained perfectly impassive, though his body tensed slightly. "What? Where and how? What do you want?" I batted my eyelashes at him. "Or shall I just get down on my knees?" Dr. Wolfe's eyes widened in disbelief, and then he slightly recoiled. "I meant doing extra credit, a chance to redo the assignment." I felt my heart sink into my stomach from sheer embarrassment. Had I really gotten it wrong? But how? I would have loved nothing more than for the ground to swallow me whole, but I couldn't let it show. "Redo the assignment?" I scoffed. "I'm not about to redo something I already spent hours on." I raised my nose in the air, satisfied by Dr. Wolfe's stunned expression. "You're too good for extra credit, yet you offer yourself up to any random stranger?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. I clenched my jaw, feeling my face flush in anger. I hated how he made that sound like I was something cheap and easily disposable. "Well, it would have been way less time-consuming," I replied, feigning to sound just as indifferent as he did. "Get out of my office," Dr. Wolfe snapped, jaw clenched. And that about sums up how he and I met. In the months that followed, my relationship with Dr. Wolfe didn't improve much, though my grades did, as there was no way I was going to let that arrogant prick have the satisfaction of looking down on me ever again. He'd made me feel so small and insignificant. I now rejoiced in the reluctant looks he'd give me every time he was forced to hand me back a successful test, though he made a point of always getting my name wrong. "Yes, Edith, you have a question? Passable work today, Clara. Anybody know where Sophie Carter is?" There was no way he didn't remember who I was by this point. That jerk was doing it on purpose. All this to say, the man and I do not get along. This is why being in his room now, and in the middle of the night no less, feels downright illicit, never mind how I even got there in the first place. Why I haven't made myself scarce yet. Now, that's the real mystery. I'm unable to tear my eyes away from him, like a new, unspoken connection is bridging the gap between us. How can someone so aggravating in the light of day evoke such a storm of warm emotions in me now? I jolt at that last thought and step back, my breath catching in my throat as the realization of what I'm doing and feeling slowly sinks in. What exactly is happening here? For some unknown reason, I'm in my university professor's room, watching him sleep, instead of getting out of there before getting caught and also trying to figure out how I'd even gotten to his house when I don't even know where he lives. The last thing I remember, I'd convinced Lily to come out with me. We were supposed to go dancing together. Had we gone? Why can't I remember? I have to go home. Unfortunately, a light comes on outside the bedroom, and I hear footsteps coming my way. If I get caught here, I'm dead. The sheer humiliation will likely kill me. I dodge behind a curtain just as someone bursts into the room. It's a tall, beautiful woman with long red hair, who's wearing a light silk robe. "Ethan, wake up." Dr. Wolfe immediately sits up in bed, looking remarkably composed for someone who barely just woke up. "Isabel, what's wrong?" I briefly wonder if Isabel is this woman's actual name, one Dr. Wolfe actually bothered remembering, before focusing again. "It's Lily. She needs help." They're not talking about my Lily, are they? Why would she need any help from Dr. Wolfe, of all people? I watch them exit the room before getting out myself, though not before glimpsing into the hallway to make sure I'm alone. Slowly, I make my way towards a couple of voices I can hear arguing a little further down the hall. I'm led to the top of a large wooden staircase, at the bottom of which is none other than Lily, collapsed on her knees in tears. What's going on with her? Did her boyfriend do something? I see him close beside her, an angry scowl on his face. What happened? Dr. Wolfe asks, placing a hand on Lily's back. I blink in surprise. Are they actually acquainted? But then, why hadn't Lily ever mentioned that? Caleb, Dr. Wolfe insists, but the guy's busy staring at Dr. Wolfe's hand on Lily, clenching his fists like a child would upon being denied his candy. It's her friend, he mutters reluctantly before shutting his mouth like he's said everything. It's clearly not enough information for Dr. Wolfe, though. Which friend? You know, the one she met in class. The small, obnoxious brunette who talks too much. Dr. Wolfe's head snaps up. You mean Sophie? Ah, I knew it. He knows my name. He's suddenly looking a little pale, though probably a trick of the light. My thoughts are interrupted by a piercing scream. Lily's now panting against the floor, face contorted in pain. The redhead looks at her with a worried frown. Ethan, she's going to turn. What does she mean, turn? What's wrong with Lily? I hesitate to step out of my hiding place when Dr. Wolfe gets her to her feet and drags her off in his arms. Hey, where are you going? Lily's my mate. Caleb protests as he begins to trail after them, but the redhead, Isabel, grabs him by the arm. Enough. Only Ethan can help her now. You know this. Tell me what happened. I already did, Isabel. She's in shock because her friend had an accident. An accident? Wait, are they still talking about me? What kind of accident? Isabel says, sending Caleb a pointed look. She got hit by a car on her way out of the club she and Lily were at. Don't look at me like that. I had nothing to do with it. Hit by a what? That can't be true. I'd remember if I'd been in an accident, right? A vague impression of fear, The distant sound of yelling as I'm dragging Lily on a street in the rain echoes in my mind. I'm confused, too confused to stay hidden any longer. Embarrassment be damned, I have to know what's happening here. I get out of my hiding space and make my way downstairs. Look, I don't know what Caleb's deal is, but I obviously wasn't in any accident. As you can see, I'm right here, doing just fine. I interrupt my speech when it becomes obvious neither Caleb nor Isabel are paying attention to a word I'm saying. They're continuing their conversation like I'm not even there. Rude much. Why are you pretending I had an accident? I'm right here. I try again, waving my hand in front of Caleb's face, but Caleb doesn't bother to acknowledge me in the least, though neither does little Miss Isabel over there, which is worrisome. It's like they can't even see me. Things quickly escalate to downright terrifying when, as I try to catch Caleb's attention by grabbing his shoulder, I find my hand going right through him, like it would through air. I'm stunned in place. Am I dreaming? Let's go wait in the living room, Isabel says, though her voice seems to reach me from miles away. I feel like I can't breathe. What is happening to me? I throw myself in front of them, trying to block their path, but they pass through me like I'm nothing more than a wisp of smoke, their bodies chillingly insubstantial as they intersect with mine. It's like they never even touched me in the first place. I can't stay here any longer. I need to find someone, anyone, who can explain what's happening to me. Questions circle in my mind, each one feeding into my growing terror. My feet carry me outside the mansion, its vastness giving way to the wilder scenery of the woods that border the property. I don't even think about where to go. I begin to run straight ahead without looking back. Inside the forest, the branches seem to reach out to me, an eerie dance of shadows and moonlight. I can't feel the cold of the night air. The ground beneath my feet feels non-existent. I am moving, yes, but it's as if I'm floating, untethered from the earth, like I'm there but not. My heart races, pounding against my ribcage. Am I dead? Is this some sort of limbo, a place between worlds where I'm doomed to wander alone? The thought brings a fresh wave of anguish that threatens to swallow me whole. What will I do if no one else can see me either? Tears stream down my face as the weight of my situation settles in. I am more alone than I have ever been in my life. I might never feel the warmth of a hug or see someone smile at me again. How can I find my way back from this? Will I wake up to find this was all a nightmare? I know this feels too real to be a dream. I close my eyes, trying to think about my next move. I should go to my dorm room on campus and start from there. I get up but find that each new step I take is more draining than the next. I feel like I'm underwater, fighting against the current, an invisible force pushing back as I try to advance. And then, for a brief instant, there's a tug, and it feels like I'm falling off a ledge, being pulled by gravity. The forest around me dissolves into the dimly lit confines of a familiar bedroom I left but an hour ago. My heart skips a beat, not just from the sudden change in scenery, but from the sight of Dr. Wolfe, fully awake this time, pinned down on his bed by a half-naked brunette. A long, calming breath exhales loudly in its wake, but I freeze in shock as Dr. Wolfe's head snaps up, his eyes lock onto mine, widening in an expression I've never seen him wear before. I feel like I can't breathe. He can't actually see me, right? How embarrassing would it be if he could actually see me? What the? Sophie. Oh my God, he can. Dr. Wolfe's head snaps up. Sophie, he blanches, expression a complicated mix of disbelief, stupor, and perhaps relief. Perhaps. Could he be a little happy to see me? What are you doing here? Yeah, probably not. He moves away from his lover so suddenly that she topples down on the bed with a cry that he barely seems to register. For a moment, I'm too stunned to speak. After everything, the confusion and the haunting isolation, he can see me. I'm so happy I could kiss him. Well, my words get stuck in my throat. I don't even know where to begin. You see, but then Dr. Wolfe's girlfriend, who's looking confusedly in my direction, turns to him with a concerned frown. Ethan, she asks, sounding hesitant. He royally ignores her. Lily said you were in an accident. Was that some sort of joke? I blink, stunned by the accusation lacing his words. What am I supposed to say? I don't have an explanation for this. Also, I could be in shock for all he knows, and here he is coming at me like I owe him an apology or something. The nerve. Sophie, he presses, annoyingly expectant, like the entitled prick he is. I don't know, okay? I can't remember what happened. I try to concentrate on the last thing I remember before waking up here, but there is nothing but a black void and fear. I remember being scared, the sound of my heart drumming in my ears. I ran and ran, someone's hand in mine. Lily's, I'm not sure. I think Lily and I went out, I began to explain, but something went wrong, and suddenly I'm in your room. Dr. Wolfe looks stunned, but I ignore him and continue. Isabel comes in, being all like, Ethan, help. I'm sorry, you've been here before? Not important. Anyway, the next thing I know, Lily's crying, her boyfriend's calling me obnoxious, and then whoosh, he just goes right through me. I try to mimic the entire scene with my hands in what I believe to be a very clear recreation of the events, but according to Dr. Wolfe's dumbfounded expression, he's not catching on. To be fair, that is quite a lot to process, though if I'm handling it like a champ, which I am, surely he could make a little effort. I open my mouth to tell him so when I suddenly find myself at the end of a withering look. Do you have any idea how worried-eyed Lily was? He asks, clenching his fists like he's trying to restrain himself from strangling me. Well, yes, actually, because if you'd been paying attention to anything I'd said, you'd know that she thought you died, Sophie, and you're telling me you were there this entire time? Why didn't you say anything? Dr. Wolfe looks absolutely livid. I just told you, I tried, but no one could see me before. It looks like you're the only one who can. Enough. This is ridiculous. Just go, Ethan. Dr. Wolfe's girlfriend, who I'd forgotten about for a minute there, waves a hand in front of his eyes. Geez, lady, intrude much? I snap, annoyed, but she doesn't register my presence, staring intently at Dr. Wolfe instead. Who are you talking to? What do you mean? To her, obviously, he says, pointing towards me. His girlfriend is looking at him like he's grown a second head, which is kind of hilarious. See? I tell him, crossing my arms. I told you she can't see me. His face decomposes, going from doubt to shock, something akin to horrified realization in his eyes. He shakes his head, probably involuntarily. I'd almost pity him if he wasn't such a gigantic MIA. I hate to do this, but you're going to have to go. Dr. Wolfe attempts to convince his lady friend that he is not insane but needs to be alone. Once she's gone, which takes a while, he finally deigns to look at me again. Well? I ask, crossing my arms expectantly. Do you believe me now? I can't believe he even doubted me for a second when I'm the picture of honesty. He better come up with the best apology of his entire life. I need a drink, he groans instead, looking around his bedroom like a waiter is suddenly going to appear out of nowhere. Oh, well, yippee for you, I reply sarcastically. Shall I make you a freaking margarita? Why would I want a margarita? He gives me an incredulous look. They're awful. Who cares, Dr. Wolfe? I'm a ghost. I literally go through people, and you're the only one who can help me. Me? What am I supposed to do? I don't know. You're the one with the fancy degree here. Figure it out. I can't stay like this. I'll die of boredom. Hate to break it to you, sweetheart, but you're probably already dead, Dr. Wolfe replies, looking more troubled over the fact than I thought he'd be. This gives me pause for a moment. Am I dead? Was this it for me? I can't be, I exclaim, feeling slightly desperate. I've got loads of important things I still need to do. Like what? Dr. Wolfe gives me an almost concerned look. Well, for starters, I'm supposed to go to a Taylor Swift concert next month. A concert? Really? He rolls his eyes. I take it you're not a Swiftie, then, I sigh as I contemplate the tragedy that is my fate. Why is it that only Dr. Wolfe, out of all people, is the one who can see me? He is the literal worst, and he can't stand me. Wait, he can't stand me? That's good. I can work with that. Well, Dr. Wolfe, you're going to have to learn how to raise people from the dead because if you don't, I'm going to haunt you for the rest of your days, starting now. I scratch my throat and begin to sing a beautiful rendition of Wildest Dreams, which Dr. Wolfe doesn't seem to appreciate. Stop it. So you'll help me, then? I ask with a toothy grin. I sure hope it annoys him to death. I'll try. Now get out of my room. What? I blink at him in shock. You just said you'd. In the morning, he interrupts, rolling his eyes. It's the middle of the night. I'm not tired. Well, I am, Dr. Wolfe replies, gesturing towards the door. What am I supposed to do in the meantime? I pout. I don't care, as long as you don't do it here. Good night. And on that note, he slams his door in my face, which is unnecessarily dramatic, seeing how I could easily walk back through it. But Dr. Wolfe said he'd help me, and for now, he's my best chance at figuring this out, so better not antagonize him any further tonight. Since I don't need to sleep, I roam the halls of Dr. Wolfe's enormous home for a little while before deciding I better make more use of this free time. Earlier, when I tried to go back to the dorms, I'd been transported back in the house. What was that about? Am I tied to the place for some reason? I want to find out. I make my way back down, encountering a man and a little girl as I pass a kitchen, who don't seem to notice me either. What did we say about sneaking off at night? The man teases. He looks too young to be the girl's father, which probably explains the joking tone. Besides, looking at the pair more carefully, it is clear they aren't related. The man is a blonde with clear blue eyes and looks like he could play a Viking in some historical romance, while the girl's deep brown eyes and dark locks would probably stand out like a sore thumb amongst the Nordics. Whatever. You sneak out all the time. Yeah, well, I'm allowed. I'm an adult. Barely. Ethan says mentally you're 12. Yeah, but mentally Ethan's like a gazillion years old, so what does he know? The man puts his arm around the girl's shoulder. She looks a little nervous now. You won't tell him I went out, right, Noah? The man, Noah, pretends to think about it. Tell you what, I won't tell Ethan, but if I catch you one more time, I'll tell Isabel. What? But she already hates me. She does not. She just has a resting face. I wonder just how many people live in this house as I watch the pair climb up the stairs out of earshot. I make a mental note to ask Dr. Wolfe about it later and head outside. I take my time walking around the house, its structure even more imposing than I'd previously thought, with its ivy-covered stone walls and dark-looking windows that speak of an age-long past. Its proximity to the forest adds to the otherworldly feel of the property. When I've covered most of the grounds, confirming the place is completely isolated, I walk back to the forest. I must have been walking for a good 20 minutes when that tugging sensation I felt before awakens, and once again, the forest dissolves into Dr. Wolfe's bedroom. Though this time, instead of reappearing by his desk, I find myself lying on his bed, nothing short of stunned. How come I sometimes go through objects, like with doors, and sometimes not? I can feel the weight of a mattress underneath my back, though all my interrogation evaporates once I realize how close I am to Dr. Wolfe's sleeping face. I jump in surprise, having momentarily forgotten that, of course, he'd be here in his bed. Why do I keep ending up in his bedroom? Does the universe want me to watch him sleep or something? He does look much more agreeable when he's asleep, though, I guess. I gasp in surprise as the man suddenly shifts, moving his arm so that his hand lands right on top of mine. I dumbly blink at it, feeling the heat of his skin seep onto mine. Our hands are touching, like they're in actual contact. Dr. Wolfe, I exclaim, not daring to move or look away from this small miracle. Dr. Wolfe, wake up. The man takes an awfully long time to stir, slowly blinking awake. His grey eyes fall onto me, and for a moment, he gives me a surprisingly soft look, which kind of makes me forget what is happening. He really is quite a beautiful man. His eyes are an extraordinary dark grey. But then, what the hell are you doing in my bed? Yeah, that's more like him. I don't care, though. I'm too excited. Look, I exclaim, grabbing onto his fingers, we're holding hands. Get out of my room. Out. Thank you for exploring Hunt for a Wolf's Heart with Clara's Story Garden. Subscribe to our channel for the next chapters and more stories of love and mystery.